Hello, my name is Nifty Nomi, and welcome to my live action bookkeeping video. I am now covering June week number 1, so that's June 1st to 7th, and I'll be dividing this week into 4 separate videos. Now, this is the 4th of 4 June week number 1 videos. This is video number 14 in the Grand Gate Gardens case study, and this video covers the bank feed clearing and reconciliations in June week number 1. We'll be covering how to fix a double-entered transfer, and we'll be finalizing May's POS or point of sale device reconciliation and reviewing the new QBO AI Bank feed interface in real time. Check out the link below to find out how to download the documents, request a topic, or find out more about my case study project. Now, on to the bookkeeping. All right, so now that we have in the deposits, let's have a quick look if there's anything in payroll, and not for this week. So now we're rounding it out with statements, and we have a CIBT line of credit statement. So let's open this up. All right, so we have the personal line of credit statement. We've already talked about this when we saw the May 5th one. Let's go ahead and check out the bank feed to clear off the things for the bank feed, and then we can also put in that paid via e-transfer on July 2nd. So let's go over to the bank feed here. I'm going transactions, bank transactions. I'm going to expand this out, and we are going to go to the CIBT line of credit for this week. And here we have the new AI interface. And let's go ahead and clear these items off. So see how it has 2 suggested matches found? That is because we inadvertently put in the June 1st payment twice. Now, if you've gone ahead and put in that June 1st payment and then sort of come to this bank feed before it's had a time or a moment to recognize what you just did, right? You might only see the old one to connect to. I've seen this happen. There's this bit of a time lag, I think just because it's sort of a cloud software and there's a lot of thinking going on back there. So as I said, I am going to illustrate what it looks like when you have 2 separate transfers entries, one married to one account and one married to the other, and how to fix that. So let's go ahead. We're going to go to suggested matches found here and see what 2 suggested matches it's suggesting. And it wants to know if we want to match to this one. Let's say we did not see this option because of timing with the bank feed info, and we just said it's this one. So this is the first one that we put in, and we're going to go ahead and hit match. So let's go ahead and categorize the rest. What I like about this new interface is that it does say based on last time you put it towards interest expense. And I did just because I don't consider this like specifically life insurance. I just feel like it's part of the fact that she's got the line of credit. That's just a Naomi interpretation, by the way. But I also don't like that it doesn't say CIBT here. I always like to put a name. So we'll put CIBT. That's the person or the organization that's charging this stuff. Like this, CIBT. And let's go ahead and make a rule so it sort of lines it up for us next time. And since I've sort of lined everything here how I want it, I'm going to go ahead and create rule. And this is the LOC insurance. Money out, life insurance, yep. Don't replace the memo. Keep the one that it is. That kind of bugs me. And I'm going to hit save. So now you can see that it's noting that it's a rule. So next time it comes up, I can just hit post and it is done. So let's go ahead and do the same with these guys. Technically exempt. Again, like I said, it doesn't really matter. There we go. So we're going to create, nope, not uncategorized. Wait, why does it think uncategorized, guys? Didn't I just do, did it just change? I'm glad I have this recorded. I'm going to look. And look, the little AI thing isn't even happening anymore. Well, it's not that smart, is it? Because look, if I go to posted, look, life insurance charged in May went to interest expense. Here I am in pending. Oh, isn't that interesting? Sorry, you're watching me experience this in real time because it only just sort of updated to this new AI interface. And sort of the way this training or this case study is, I've kind of got to do it to show it. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting brain fart. This is why I was saying before that I know it's saying right now that there's 2 matches. Why would somebody not notice there were 2 matches and realize it was in twice? Just because of that timing of that bank feed just doesn't always sort of render in a way that you expect and show you the things that you expect. So I am actually kind of glad that it's doing these slightly unpredictable things live while I'm recording. So that's why I see this transfer thing go in twice quite a bit. So let's go ahead and set up this rule so the next time it happens. So yeah, it's an expense. I say interest expense, and this is CIBT. I don't mind that it says 0 rated. Let's create the rule, and insurance LOC 2. Let's see, and don't replace that, and save. So now every time this comes up, the rule is going to be applied, and I can go and just post it. It fills it all in for me. So again, here's that interesting thing, uncategorized expense. It had just said interest. Very interesting, but I'm not worried. I can just put it in myself. I'm going to put this towards interest expense, like that. And I'm going to say create rule, LOC interest, like this. And don't use that. And then I'm going to hit save. So I'm not posting it with that because I didn't say auto add. I'm just teeing it up like you're playing golf. So then we can go ahead and post. So now we've cleared the bank feed for the CIBT line of credit. It is best practice to clear all of your bank feeds before you go to reconcile. Okay. I am going to illustrate that double entered transfer though, and I'm on that topic right now. So that's why I'm kind of going to step outside of my normal operating procedures just to illustrate something for this case study. So right now I flipped over to Canada Bank Checking. I'm going to come down to that $250 e-transfer sent. And let's look at the 2 matches. Again, maybe it would only offer up this one. Or maybe we've connected this one, it doesn't see it to match, and we add this as a transfer separately. Again, there's so many different ways that it could happen. I've just seen it happen very, very often. And so I'm just trying to recreate that so that we can see how to fix it. So in this case, let's say that we're connecting this QuickBooks transaction entry to this bank feed info line, right? I'm going to go match. So now what we have is we've always had the 2 separate transfer entries. There's only one transfer. The 250 just went from here to here, right? But again, so many times, somehow, different ways, you're going to get 2 somehow entered in. There's usually some timing with the bank feed. And what happens then, especially when it happens that way, is you're going to have one of your transactions married to this bank feed info line. And then the second, the QuickBooks transaction transfer married to the other bank feed info line, instead of one transfer married to both of the bank feed info lines. I'm going to go over now to the reconcile. It's actually right here. And we are going to reconcile the CIBT line of credit. Let's take a look. Here we can see that the opening is 1/1/3/11/22, and then the closing is 11/1/45/44. So I'm going to put that information in. 1/1/145.44, and then the ending date was June 5th. Right there. Start reconciling. So here we are. You can see that it feels like we've reconciled. The difference is 0. Everything's checked off and we're really happy. A lot of times, new and learning bookkeepers will feel like they are done at this point and just say finish now. But you have to make sure that the uncleared items, these are things I called white lines, are okay. And so, like, let's say that you wrote a check and it takes a few days to clear. You're okay that that's uncleared. You're okay with that white line. Maybe you're reconciling the credit card statement and sometimes things take a day or two to post. You're okay that that didn't clear. But when we are looking here, we can see it's an obvious double entry. And so if I go to this one right here, this one that's uncleared, edit, we can see it actually did clear. That's because it has cleared, it's marked as cleared on the Canada Bank Chequing bank reconciliation. It is married to the Canada Bank bank feed. We want to see a transfer that is married to two bank feed info lines. We want to see it married to the Canada Bank Chequing, and we want to see it married to the CIBT line of credit. It's one transaction that's referencing two bank feeds. So if you've got a QBO transaction that is referencing, touching two different bank feeds, it needs to be married to two bank feed info lines. So which one do we delete? Well, we have some options. If you have reconciled the Canada Bank Chequing already, right, you would delete this one, the CIBT line of credit. Because if you've already reconciled your Canada Bank Chequing and then you delete something, well, then you've got to fix and clean that up. And I will show us how to do that later on in the course. So that is doable, but we're trying to do things the easy way, right? So if I know that this one's married to the bank and this one's married to the line of credit, and let's say I've already reconciled the bank and I don't want to delete that, well, why don't I just delete this one? So I'm going to go to edit. So again, this is a QBO transaction that is referencing, touching two GL accounts of the bank feed. It's touching Canada Bank Chequing and it's touching CIBT line of credit here. And because it's touching both of them, it should have been married to two, but it's only married to the CIBT line of credit bank feed. So I'm going to go ahead and say more delete. Now by deleting this, now we're out by 250 and we want this one to get clicked off. But we have to marry it first. So we have to leave, we go back to transactions, back to bank transactions, back to the CIBT line of credit, and we can see that it wants to match it to this transfer right here. So something that I've noticed with the new AI bank feed, if you match here, it takes you to another screen and to the find match screen, and then you can select it, and that's a bit annoying. Or you can actually just hit this one match and it's one button click. So those are your two options with this new AI feed. You can do that match, which takes you to the match here, takes you to the find match screen, and you can choose, and then the action is just nice and quick. Let's go back to the reconcile, go back to resuming the CIBT, and now we're at 0. Now there's no uncleared items. Let's go and take a look at what this transfer looks like now. Now it is married to two. That's what I meant. You've got one QBO transaction representing the transfer. It's touching two bank feeds. Therefore, it needs to be married to two different bank feed info lines. It's polyamorous. We are an inclusive bookkeeping case study. All right. So that is the CIBT bank reconciliation done. And I would usually attach the statement. There was an option to do that there. Now, the other thing that we can enter from here is that paid via e-transfer. Now, in this case, it doesn't actually say out of what bank. Did she pay it out of her personal bank or her business bank? We don't know. So if we were to put this in right now without actually knowing for sure which bank it came out of, we can cause that double entry problem that we just had to deal with. So now that we have those bank feeds connected, we could probably just wait and see what the bank feeds do. And it'll usually say, I think this transfer is related to that transfer. Do you want me to pair this and marry it to both of these bank feed info lines. So we're going to use the bank feed on July 2nd to enter in that transfer. And so we can just wait until the bank feed for July 2nd comes through to enter that transfer. So that is it for all of the paperwork for June 1st. But we do have some more to do, of course. We have some bank feed clearing to do. So when we clear the bank feeds, I do suggest going from the smaller accounts and moving up to the bigger accounts. And definitely starting with the credit cards and then going over to the banks. So we've already done the CIBT line of credit. For Canada Bank Savings, the savings account, there actually isn't any transactions in for the first week of June. So if your bank on your case study says 0, yours is right, mine is wrong. Moving on. Before we go to the main operating account, let's go over to the Triangle MasterCard. So we've got 5 to look at here. And even though it says select tax, we already have the Amazon expense in a way that has the tax in it. So you don't have to be distracted by the fact that the option to categorize with tax has nothing in it. The actual expense that we're marrying it to does have the HST in it. And again, right now, even though it looks like the new AI format, we're still doing the same thing. We're taking that bank feed info line and we're marrying it to the QBO transaction that already exists if it is in already. So a quick refresher, the date, bank description, spent and received, everything on this left-hand side, that is information coming from the bank feed or the credit card company. And then everything to the right of this paperclip, including the paperclip, that's all the sort of suggestions, matches, etc. related to the QBO transactions and QBO guessing and all that stuff. So as I go through and marry, my tip is to look at the dates first. That's a give because you want to make sure you're not click happy and just sort of matching things willy-nilly. And so we can see here that we have an Amazon expense in already. Isn't that interesting? It says -07 and this is +07. Isn't that interesting? Because in the classic bank feed, I don't think we see the negative. Like it is negative, it's a credit card, right? But it's a positive spend. Like we've used the credit card. So I think that might be something that I don't love about this new AI bank feed scene, but that's okay because it wants to match it. It's suggesting it. And as I showed you before, if we hit this match button, it actually takes us to the find match screen where we can select different things to match to if we want, which we'll talk about later why I don't like or use. And this match button right here just marries it and gets it off our feed nice and quick, like this, match. Next, June 5th, $500. We've put this online payment in, so we can just go ahead and match that. June 1st, 69. It wasn't in order. I generally find things in date order a lot easier. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, so here we go. We've got the SO June 1st, 6914, 6914 match. Home Depot, June 3rd, Home Depot, match. June 7th, SO 92, June 7th, SO 92, match. Nice and easy. Moving on to Canada Bank Chequing. So let's go ahead and match the things that we know and then come back and visit the things that don't have a match suggested. So let's see, we've got this check on June 2nd and we have bill payment 19. See how the bank feed says it's check 19, that's coming from the bank. And our entry says 19, that's coming from us, 2000, 2000. So we're going to go ahead and match. Now this is a rule, so I feel good that we can go ahead and just post this $1.50 e-transfer fee. And Insurinators is a rule, go ahead and post. This one doesn't have a match or a rule, so we're going to leave that one for now. Interesting, we've got 2 suggested matches for this mobile check deposit. Let's open that one up. Interesting. It says 2 suggested matches, but one is an unpaid invoice. This is open balance here, and open balance for 60. I don't know why it says open balance for these two. Again, I'm just experiencing this new AI feeds real time while I'm recording. But I can say pretty confidently, similar to that classic version, if the invoice doesn't have a payment entered, then don't just assume that this check is paying that invoice, right? You want to know, what is this check paying? And a mobile check deposit, you don't know. So unless Sarah sort of keeps that check and writes on it, this was deposited on such and such a date, and gives it to you, the bookkeeper, then you don't know just from the bank feed what this 644.10, what that check is for or from, who it is for or from. But we have received payment check. We did say that Dictate gave us a check on June 4th, and then on June 5th, somebody does a mobile check deposit. So we have a high degree of certainty that it's this. But again, don't just assume it's paying an unpaid invoice. We're matching it to an existing payment that we already have in. So I'm going to go ahead and match it to that one. So here we go. We've got that MasterCard payment, June 5th, June 5th. I'm just going to head and match there. Here's the online payment, June 5th, right here. Match. And isn't that, you can see how it just says dash Townville PWB, but the actual bank description isn't shown when I expand it like it used to, unless we say categorize. I'm just noting that in the classic version, I don't know if we saw it when we hovered, so that's when we hover. But in the classic version, it's down at the bottom is usually where you see that bank, full bank. Oh, there it is. That full bank description is right here. That's where we see it. Very interesting. So I'm going to go back to the match option, and it wants to match to this bill payment. And if we hover, we can see what the actual full bank description is. And I'm going to go ahead and match. So the rest of these items don't have suggestions or rules. So we're going to start tackling those together. So what I don't like about this AI suggestion is the last time there was a check, it was put to accounts payable, but it wasn't put to accounts just like to accounts payable, was it? What it was is it was actually a bill payment. And this bill payment was entered to accounts payable, but this AI doesn't seem to tell us that. It doesn't actually say, oh, by the way, the last time this was a bill payment. It wants to encourage us to categorize to accounts payable. I don't like that. I don't like that. Let's see what the little star stuff. You have similar transactions, most likely put to accounts payable, I guess. See how the last few checks was Funky Gifts Wholesale, and that was like using the accounts payable interface, but it wants us to categorize to accounts payable? No, that's not how you use accounts payable. You have to use bill payment. If you don't, it can get very messy and very confusing and causes much more work than needs to happen. So this is sort of my feedback, is it shouldn't do this. It should say, last time it was a check, you used the pay bills, or it was used to pay a bill, go here. It shouldn't let me or encourage me or nudge me to categorize to accounts payable. Just saying. But if we want to remember what happened the last time we paid $3,390, I can just go ahead, look at my posted, and say, look for 3,390. And May 1st, it was to Potts Properties. So if we're paying rent on the 1st, like 3,390, and that's pretty consistent, we can wait. That's the one option. We can wait to get the bank statement at the end of June and see who the check was actually written to on the cleared checks. Or it's check number 3. She gave him a 12 maybe she told us she gave us 12 post-dated checks, 1 to 12, to Potts Properties. So I got a high degree of certainty that this is actually, so I'm going to bring it out. It is rent expense. There's HST on that. And it is Potts Properties, like this. So we're going to go ahead and post. So the next here we have int fee, and if you remember that 026875, I'm going to hover here because actually the full bank description says 026875. If you remember, that is the Moneris that Sarah uses to process her credit cards. And so this int fee is actually the charge for using the debit card payment processing in May. It usually sort of happens in the first of the month following. And so it wants to put it to bank charges because it's not seen int fee before. This is the first time it sees int fee. But I want to actually put this to processing fees, payment processing fees. And who was it from? It was from Moneris, like this. And you know what? Let's go ahead and expand this out. Let's make this a rule so that I don't have to worry about it again. Moneris debit fees. Like that. And I don't want it to replace the bank memo. I want it to use the existing one. I'm going to hit save. And so now every time it sees int fee, blah, 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 it's going to tee this up for us. Well, why didn't it? Why didn't it? Real time. Let's look at our rules and see why it might not have. Did it not save? No, there it is. Moneris debit fees. Why is that rule not working? Does it take too long? See, it's just that time lag delay thing, real time. And we saw that when we made a rule before. So I feel like there's this timing thing with the rules. Interesting. So you're seeing me experience this new thing real time. And so now you're learning with me. So best way to learn is to teach, by the way. So it's pretty cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and post this. It's lined up for me. That reminds me to note that there's only Visa showing, and that is because you can see that the debit deposit for June 5th got automatically put in for us, right? So we didn't have to put in all of these, and there's this MasterCard deposit got put in for us. That is the only rule that I have happen automatically because there are so many of them and they're always the same thing. So it's a lot quicker. That's the only one I auto add. So let's go ahead and set up the Visa one now. So it is a deposit to POS clearing, out of scope sales, and we'll say that that's Moneris. And let's go ahead and create the rule. And this is Moneris Visa deposits. Description, Visa DEP, money in. I kind of want the whole number. Let's grab that whole number here. And so let's put the whole thing and the description. That's the bank text. There it is. Deposit, POS clearing. Don't replace the bank memo. And again, this is the only one I auto add. Let's go see what this new interface does when I save this. Oh, it actually auto added them right away. Excellent. So we're almost done. We got one more to do. It is the Square deposit. And in May, we were putting in these deposits individually. We had the paperwork to show us how much was the sale and how much was the Square fees. But in June, I'm going to illustrate how to use the Square clearing account the same way that we use the Moneris POS clearing account. So let's go ahead and put this into the Square clearing. So it is a deposit, Square clearing, add a scope from or to Square, and let's go ahead and create that rule so we don't have to think about it again. Square clearing deposit. Yeah, happy for all of that, except don't need that. And you can probably auto add these ones as well. I'm not going to auto add. The only auto add ones I do is the debit credit. So I'm going to hit save. She doesn't use Square all that much, but if it starts happening a lot, then yes, I'll probably switch that to auto. And you can see here's the rule. It's got it lined up, so I can go ahead and post. So now we have actually cleared the bank feed for all of the banks. We've put in all of the paperwork, And yet there's still one more thing that I would like to cover before I sign off for the week. And that is something that we didn't get to finish or finalize in the last week of May. And what I was showing you in the last week of May was the POS reconciliation, that Moneris debit credit clearing account reconciliation. And I couldn't do that because there was a few deposits that went in the first week of June related to the May sales. Like, it takes a day or two to go in. So why don't we just hop on over there and see if that's something that we can finish off quickly. So let's go over to reconcile, and we're going to go to the POS clearing, and we're going to just resume, and you can see that we're off by 85.83. Now, a reminder of what we put in at the beginning when we started this. We said the POS begins at 0 and it ends at 0. What I want to do is I want to identify all of the Moneris deposits that are associated with May's sales. And I'm going to make this end on June 2nd. Usually go a day or two into the following month. Save. And what we can see here is that we've already manually checked these off when I was showing you what to do on my last week of May video. And in this case, it's very easy. We can see, oh, this June 2nd deposit is highly likely related to May, because all of these POS debit credit deposits all add up to the 49468 that we said was paid towards the May monthly sales. So this is an example of a nice, easy, yay, it worked POS reconciliation. So the reason that this debit credit reconciliation went to 0 nice and easily for the month of May is because Sarah's Shopify sales register is connected to the payment processing machine. It's the same thing. And because it's the same thing, or because it's connected, there's no user error typing things in wrong. I have seen, not just with Shopify, so I've seen Shopify's cash register not connected to the payment processing machine. But I've also seen, like a lot of times in a restaurant, you'll have the sales register not connected to that machine that you take out and pay. When those aren't connected, when the sales register is not telling the payment processing machine how much to populate and how it's paid, now you've introduced user error. You can imagine 100 sales a day, it's going to get messed up, and it doesn't go to 0. And so in those cases, it is a huge help to be able to log on to Moneris, TD Merchant, Clover, whatever the machine is, and be able to log on to the register, Shopify, and just sort of be able to dig in a little deeper to see why they're not reconciling. Now, even when the register is connected to the payment machine, this sometimes won't be a nice even 0. And that's because sometimes see how we've got two separate deposits, 85 and 75? Sometimes they go in together. Sometimes you'll get May 31st and June 1st squished and put in together on June 2nd. And when that happens, you're going to have to change how you do this reconciliation. And we are going to look at that at the end of June to see how we would do that. But for May, the POS reconciliation actually is nice and easy. We can see that as per the sales report, $494.68 was paid by debit or credit, and these are those deposits that add up to that $494.68. Nothing is split, no typos have happened, and so now we can say finish now. Done. And with that, June week number 1 is done. Now, June is chock full of learning moments, so I hope you'll join me for June week number 2. We'll be tackling donated gift cards, employee overtime, and how that affects QBO's accrued vacation hours, and so much more. I hope you found the information helpful in the building, growth, and success of the business that you are working in and on. If you are interested in downloading the case study source documents or have any special requests for topics you'd like me to cover in upcoming weeks, you can find out more information in the link below. If you found this video useful, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Instagram at BeThatBusiness. You can tweet at me, X at me, I'm at NiftyNomi, and I'm also at NiftyNomi on Twitch and TikTok. And you can find resources and courses about running a Canadian business on my website, naomiwilkins.ca. I love making business make sense. The video today was recorded in beautiful Oshawa, Ontario. Thanks so much for watching, and get out there and be that business that thrives.